responsibility and the role of the leader to build a culture for problem solving. So what does that mean to build a culture? Well, we talk about in another video series around people solve problems, and in the book, the behaviors that drive a good problem solving culture. So we won't get into a lot of that here, but we understand things like learning deliberately. Bringing learning as a behavior into problem solving greatly affects how problem solving goes forward. Or the behavior of creativity over capital. That's not just a rule you put in place, that's how people approach it. It's the behavior they bring to problem solving. And so getting the right behaviors in place within your team and across your team consistently is essential for good problem solving success. And it is the role of the leader to help build that culture. Now, why is this important? Because fundamentally our principles, how we think, our beliefs, our mental models, they shape our behaviors. Our behaviors determine our actions, and our actions determine the results. And so we want to get the beliefs, the principles right, which drive those right behaviors. However, I like focusing when I work with leaders more on the behaviors than the principles. And why is that? Well, I can't see how you think. I can't see your beliefs. And other people can't see mine. We can guess what they are, we can imagine what they are, but what we can observe is our behaviors. Both for our team, so that we can reinforce them and hold them accountable, but also for us as leaders. We can role model because others can see and observe us with those behaviors. So I've actually over time grown to appreciate talking about behaviors more because they are more observable. Now, our role as a leader in doing this is to create experiences. Where do our beliefs come from? Well, they come from our experiences. And as a leader, if we are creating experiences for our team that help shape those behaviors in a deliberate way, we're much more likely to get the culture that we want rather than an accidental culture. So that is our job as a leader, is to create experiences that help shape the culture that we want. Now, how do we do that? Well, we've already talked about in another video our role as the system architect. We design the system to help problem solving go on. Well, how we design that system helps shape those behaviors. For example, if I prioritize problems that require learning and I create the right capacity to allow for that learning to occur, now I've designed my system as part of a feedback mechanism to help my team know that learning is a part of problem solving. So how I design my system to make sure we're working on the right problems, the right behaviors are reinforced, the right behaviors are allowed for versus shut down, that has a huge impact on the behaviors. So as you design or architect the system in which you're managing your problems, make sure you're aware of how that system affects people's beliefs and affects their behaviors. We also have a job to role model. Now, one of the beautiful things about problem solving is that problem solving goes on at every level of the organization. So some behaviors are sometimes hard for leaders to role model because they don't apply to their job. But problem solving isn't one of those. Problem solving applies to every level in the organization. Every person is problem solving. And so it's a tremendous opportunity to role model the right behaviors. So as an example, what I see often is that sometimes leaders exhibit the behavior of being a knower versus being a learner. Now there might be good reasons for that. They might have more experience. They might even think faster or think behind the scenes. And so people might not see that they actually are approaching problem solving as a learner. But it doesn't matter how we intended it. It matters what people observe. And so it's really important as leaders to show people behind the curtain, to show people that we are approaching problem solving as a learner. It's one of the most important things we do as a leader to role model that behavior of learning deliberately. And how do we do that? Well, we invite other people into our problem solving. We show people progress and iteration. We show them that we have knowledge gaps instead of just jumping to solutions. we let people peek behind the curtain. We make that visible and transparent so that other people see that we are approaching problem solving from a learner's mindset. So how we role model our behaviors is critical to helping shape the culture. I like to say that you're not a role model if people don't see you do it. And so that is our obligation as leaders, is to make sure that people do observe us exhibiting the right behaviors. We also have to establish and reinforce clear expectations. If we want clear behaviors, if we want specific behaviors, we have to begin with articulating them. We have to put them out as expectations, that this is what we expect, and that we do not want to see these other behaviors. So whether it's through recognition, whether it's through accountability, whether it's through what we tolerate or don't tolerate, we have to first articulate and set clear expectations, and then reinforce them and establish accountability to make sure that we are holding dear that culture that we've set out to create. And we also fundamentally have to support our team. What does that really mean? Well, it means removing the friction from doing the right thing. So when we start to see barriers that get in the way of learning, for example, there's too much urgency, or that people get criticized for having draft modes of their problem solving, well, that's clear friction that works against having a learner's mindset. So we have to support the team by making sure that the right behaviors are not just allowed for but encouraged, and remove the friction, remove the resistance against those right behaviors. Some of that resistance might be things that were put together accidentally, whether it works sort of against human nature, whatever it might be, but our job as a leader is to remove that friction. Fundamentally, big picture is that we need to establish continuous improvement of our culture. So think about plan, do, study, act, and that basic continuous improvement culture. Well, that means especially we need to think about the plan and the study. Plan means that as a leader, I need a plan for how I'm going to shape the culture. If I don't have a plan, then I'm just going to get something accidental. So I need a plan, and I need to study, am I getting the culture that I want? Am I observing it? Am I paying attention to it? Am I seeing the behaviors happen? So whether I measure that through true metrics, whether I measure it through survey tools where other people are observing the behaviors, or I simply use my own observation to see if those behaviors are taking place, I need to assess, am I getting the culture that I want? And then I can turn that continuous improvement wheel of plan, do, study, act, and make sure that I'm continuously shaping the culture that helps drive problem-solving success.